All right, thanks. I'd like to call to order the regular governing board meeting of the Jefferson Elementary School District, May 13th, 2020, and the time is 7 o'clock. And can we please have members present?
Clayton Koo,
Here.
Marie Brizuela,
Here.
Maybell Monio,
Here.
Manufo Leah Inga Anawai,
Here.
Shaquille Ali.
Here. And if possible, we would like Dr. Joyner to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we cannot stand and begin. I pledge
I
allegiance
pledge allegiance
to the
to
flag of the United
United
States of
States of
America
America,
and to the republic for which it's one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And I think we're recording again. It said it stopped recording for a second, but I believe we're still recording. All right, we'll take this time for the governance team to go over the governance team.
Yeah, and then Mr. Ali, if you wouldn't mind reporting out from last meeting's closed session.
All right.
Item number 2, when you get a chance.
Okay, yes. So I'll go ahead and do that now, actually, while people are thinking of the guidelines that they're going to follow. So at the conclusion of our regular meeting on April 22nd, we had a closed session and no action was taken during the closed session. And do we need to say anything else, Mr. Vidales?
No, that's sufficient.
Okay. Great. So governance team meeting guidelines. And guess we can get thumbs up from the board members once they have chosen the guideline that they're focusing on. I've chosen mine. And also Mr. Superintendent Vidales. You can either use your physical thumb or you can use the icon on the screen. Okay, we got Brizuela. Are we good? Yes. Mr. Koo? Yes? Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye and raise your thumb.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Communications. Board member acknowledgements and commendations. And we'll start with Mr. Koo.
I don't have much to say. I just want to wish everybody, hope they're all doing well and safe and that they're able to enjoy life as much as they can at the moment. I also still want to extend, I know from our last meeting, our sense of appreciation to all of our first responders and essential workers for all that they're doing, especially at this time. And lastly, I know there's a lot of students graduating across our district and across our country. So just want to extend our congratulations on all of their accomplishments, especially under some unique times.
Thanks. Ms. Brizuela?
I would like to also express my appreciation to all of our teachers and all the staff members and everybody working hard to keep us moving along. And today was a pleasure to go and say a few words that will be aired out to some of our students, since we can't get together for graduation and for all those special events that we have, to let them know that we support them and care for them and we're proud of them. And thank you for setting that up.
All right, thank you. Ms. Manio?
I too would also like to share the same sentiments as my fellow board members in thanking our first responders, our hospital workers, and essential workers out there on the front line while we shelter in place. And I also want to thank the district for allowing us to do the virtual commencement speeches. I know it's a little bit different, but we do want to continue to show our students, even as they leave our district, that we are here to support them, encourage them, and acknowledge that they did achieve something through all of this, and that it was very unprecedented for them, but that we still continue to thrive through it all.
Very good, thank you. And Ms. Liana Anoa'i.
Good evening, everyone. I too echo the sentiments of my fellow colleagues on the board. Forever grateful for the sacrifices made by many of our essential and frontline workers. And those are our teachers and our staff and administration in our district, who I think are doing an excellent job in coping with the ever-changing pandemic that we're in right now. I also want to extend my thanks that we are able to offer our virtual greetings to all of the graduates in our district. We definitely wish them well, and we thank all of the parents as well as all of the teachers who ensured that they got to this momentous occasion of going into high school. It's definitely different and it's definitely memorable. I also want to extend a belated Mother's Day. I know many of us said that at our last meeting, but want to extend a belated Mother's Day to all of the mothers in our district and throughout our community. And lastly, I want to say happy Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. I am proud to be a Pacific Islander serving in this role. And I love that we're able to highlight a lot of the contributions by these communities, especially during these trying times. So if you happen to see any AAPIs out there doing great things, give them a shout out, because this is definitely a celebratory month in a very different way. So thank you again, and so happy to see your faces.
All right, thanks very much. I would like to commend first and foremost all the students who, are going through this distance learning and this adjustment, and to the parents as well who are adjusting with them. And then I would like to commend two of our schools, the General Pershing State Preschool and Woodrow Wilson Elementary School. Superintendent Vidales and I did virtual school visits. Virtual school visits, and we're able to talk with the principals and directors about how they're adjusting to the shelter in place, and also to see some of the developing green space at Woodrow Wilson that we've been waiting for so many years. So I'd like to commend those two schools and all the leaders from those schools. All right, superintendent comments.
Thank you, Mr. Ali. I too wanted to comment on the virtual visits. That was a great visit that Mr. Ali and I had with General Pershing and Woodrow, and the site leaders took their laptop around and showed us different things that they're proud of at their school site. Much like being there in person, but not quite. But it was still a good way to do that. I also had an opportunity earlier this week to visit a classroom as a visitor. That is one thing that I am missing the most during this trying time, is to be able to show up at a school and visit a classroom and see the children, see the people that we are working for and serving. especially when things get stressful or depressing. That's one of the things I like to do. And I hadn't been able to do that. And so I reached out and I got an invitation. So I joined, and it was the sweetest time to see the students engaging with their teacher in their classroom community, engaging with each other, asking each other questions, connecting with one another. It was a young girl's birthday on that day, and so the class closed with everybody singing happy birthday. And the young lady's parent or adult in the home brought a cupcake with a candle that she blew out in front of all of her classmates. So that is certainly some memories are being made during this time, and I hope that there are many positive ones. So as I mentioned, we are in our last phase of the at-home learning. This phase, as we explained at the last meeting, does include an encouragement for more online instruction and more opportunities for students and families to connect with teachers and school adults. From what I can tell, and later we'll hear from Ms. Baroni, I don't know if she's going to share this, but I just want to share it. Sorry, Ms. Baroni, if I steal your thunder, but she shared earlier this week that on Zoom we have over 2 million minutes logged in through our district account with all of the classes and meetings and things that have been done. So that's pretty amazing. And then the last thing is, and she'll share other data with us as well. We're starting to hear that San Mateo County is starting to open up. And so our district is also getting ready for that time. We're not there in terms of any of the metrics that say move forward, but I'm convening a school reopening committee that will be watching the different data points. And we'll be reaching out to our broader community about sentiments as well as different ideas about opening up, and trying to get information that is very specific to our community. The zip codes of 94015 and 94014. We get countywide data, and oftentimes that doesn't tell the story of what's happening here in the north. And then we get San Francisco data, and that doesn't tell the story of what's happening in our community. So I'm working with the county office to try to get us some metrics that we can use here locally to determine if how and when we might be able to move toward in-person school. I don't believe it's going to happen like it used to be. Certainly not at the beginning. And I do hope that we get to do it before December. But as we all heard yesterday, Cal State University decided they will not do that until after December. So, it is a new world. It is a new period. I believe we're getting better at virtual instruction, which is always good. And I think if we needed to do this again for another period of 6 to 8 weeks, it will be much better than we were in the last 6 to 8 weeks, because we are getting better and more comfortable with the tools. And lastly, the biggest elephant in the room is the budget situation. California is being hit particularly hard with the closure of businesses and the stopping of the economy. And this is going to show up in our school budgets as well. The governor will be making his announcements on Thursday, I believe, and we'll be attending different workshops in the following week to learn more about what that means for schools, for districts, in particular our district. And we'll have a presentation for you at the next board meeting. And I'm sure you'll be getting information in your inbox through email from the different school-based organizations that support us, school boards and different other organizations. So that is something on top of a very stressful 6 to 8 weeks that we've just had, another challenge and another opportunity to show how much we care for our community and how much we can think creatively about being able to offer education to our students in this very trying time, emotionally, physically for many, and now financially as well for our district, as I know that our families are experiencing. So thank you, Mr. Ali.
All right, thank you. Item 7C, persons wishing to address the board. This portion of the agenda is available for individuals to comment on or address the board on any issue that is under the board's jurisdiction and not on the agenda. The maximum time allowed for any speaker is usually 2 minutes. And,
We do not have any speaker cards submitted.
all right. Moving right along to general functions. Item 8A, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye and
Aye.
thumbs up.
Aye.
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 Okay, unanimously approved. Item 8D, resolution number 20-5-13C, Classified Employees Week. The administration recommends adoption of resolution number 20-05-13C, designating the week of May 17th, May 17th through the 23rd, 2020 as Classified Employees Week. Do we have a motion?
So I shared a little bit about this at the last meeting. May is Appreciation Month, and we do appreciate different employee groups. Next week is Classified Employees Week, and our classified employees are always there to support our schools and our students. And it's not, and during this time, it is most evident of all that they are doing to support, feeding the students, making sure that our schools are clean, making sure that teachers have access to their classrooms and that their classrooms are cleaned immediately after they leave. So our classified employees are doing great things. I just heard at one school, every classified employee has been assigned a classroom, and they get to be a second adult in all of the classes, and work with kids in the small group if they can, or help follow up on kids who didn't show up. So that's a neat way to utilize the resources that we have.
Sounds good.
I will make a motion to adopt resolution number 20-05-13C, designating the week of May 17th to 23rd, 2020 as Classified Employees Week.
I'll second that motion. Excuse me.
Okay, sorry. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, aye, thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I don't think so. So unanimous. Item 8E, revised governing board meeting dates for 2020. The board will consider reducing the regular June meetings to one meeting on June 17th, adding December 9th, and keeping December 16th if required. Mr.
So I can speak to this. Yeah, this is something that came to my attention. I was reminded of right after we approved our governing board meeting dates back in December. You might be aware that in 2018, I believe, the legislature passed a law that changed the date that a school board member's term begins. It used to be the first Friday in December, and now it's moved to the second Friday in December. And so that presents interesting challenges for school districts because most school districts need to plan for 2 meetings in December. One meeting at the beginning with their old board to approve their interim budget, first interim budget, and take care of business that has to be done by December 15th. And another meeting after the second Friday, if you have any newly elected board members. Returning board members don't need to wait until then to keep serving because they're still serving, but it's just the newly elected ones can't be a board member at a meeting until after that date. So we propose that we adjust. Before we kept December 16th, but then I was reminded that the first interim is due December 15th, so December 16th is too late. So we need the December 9th meeting to do a first interim business and any other business. And then we'll keep December 16th if there is a newly elected board member, but then we would drop it if the returning board members are elected.
Okay. So
And then our upcoming June meetings. We used to be required to have 2 meetings in June because at one meeting you have to hold a public hearing for the budget and the LCAP. And then the last meeting, the only things that we did at that meeting were to approve the budget and the LCAP. With the LCAP format changing for this year being a single page, the requirement to have the 2 meetings is dropped. And we didn't feel, my recommendation is it's not worth having the 2 meetings to do the just adoption of the LCAP report and the budget. We could take care of it in 1 meeting. Of course, if there's something that comes up, we can use the date that's there for a special meeting.
Okay. Does anyone have any question about this? No. Okay. Well, do we have a motion?
I'd like to motion that that the board can consider reducing the regular June meetings to 1 meeting on June 17th, adding December 9th, and keeping December 16th if required.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, so now all right, item, excuse me, 8G, 2020 to 2021 AFT contract proposal, sunshine, and schedule of public hearing. A public hearing will be held on May 27, 2020 on AFT local number 3267, contract proposal for the 2020-2021 school year. AFT is proposing to open negotiations on Article 2, wages, Article 6, health and welfare, Article 7, leave provisions, and the memorandum of understanding regarding substitute coverage for IEP, prep, and meetings. The administration recommends acknowledging the receipt of direct sunshining and distribution for public review. The contract proposal for 2020 to 2021 by AFT local number 3267 as required by the ROTA Act. Do we have a motion or there any, well, we don't need discussion. So is there a motion for this?
I will make a motion to approve the public hearing date of May 27th, 2020 on AFT Local 3267's contract proposal for the 2020-2021 school year, and to acknowledge receipt of direct sunshining and distribution for public review, contract proposal for 2020-2021 by AFT Local 3267 as required by the ROTA Act.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, aye, and thumbs.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously approved. Item 8H, excuse me, 2020 to JESD counter proposal to AFT local number 3267, Sunshine, and schedule a public hearing. A public hearing will be held on May 27th. Well, we just read all of that. So basically this item is just offering the counter proposal from our district. And the administration recommends direct sunshining and announcing time to receive public input on the JESD's counter proposal to AFT local number 3267 for the 2020 to 2021 school year as required by the Rhoda Act.
I'll make a motion that the public hearing will be held on May 27th for JESD's counter proposal to AFT local number 3267 for the 2020-2021 school year and as written and stated.
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, that's unanimous. Item 9A, technology used during at-home learning program. Ms. Tony Baroni, Director of Technology and Curriculum Integration, will provide an update on the technology integration program and how technology use has transitioned during our at-home learning program. And welcome, Ms. Baroni.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for this opportunity to share all that's been happening in technology integration around our district in the last year. It's been an incredibly busy time. Next slide, please. So I thought I would just start off with sharing our district's technology mission statement, because I feel like now more than ever it's very apropos to what we're doing. And that is that educators will leverage technology in order to provide a variety of new ways to teach and learn. And in the process, foster independent and creative thinking and problem solving and collaborative learning. These words really have never been more true than they are right now. We've certainly needed to leverage all of the technology tools that we have, our integration strategies like never before. And we are definitely teaching and learning in new ways each and every day. I'd like to start by sharing with you some of the major projects we've been working on in the past year, and then talk specifically about our transition to at-home learning. So many of these projects are infrastructure projects, and I equate them to when you're working on a new house and you have to spend a lot of time and energy working on the foundation, where you don't always see the impacts of it, but you certainly know when something's not working correctly. So namely, a couple of our big projects that have been funded in part by our E-rate grant has been the expansion and the upgrade of our, what they call a WAN, a wide area network. So this, maybe you saw people digging outside. They literally built new fiber trenches all around our district to be able to give us increase in bandwidth, but also give us flexibility. So now that that's in place, we have the ability to have expandable growth over the next several years. And it's also a much more inexpensive way to provide internet to all of our school sites. So we're actually getting more bandwidth at lower rates. So that was a big undertaking that we took this year. A second one was upgrading our uninterrupted power supply system, which is basically a battery backup system. You know, we have in Daly City just little brownouts throughout the day. And when that happens, a lot of our systems shut down. And so by upgrading this battery backup supply, it's really allowed us to have seamless service throughout the day and not as many issues with power surges and outages. It will also provide us time that in the event of a major emergency, it will give us time to connect to a generator so that we can have communication support as we need to for emergencies. I'm sure you've heard about some of the major cyber attacks that have happened in the county over the last year or so. So we were very fortunate that we had someone come out to our district and do an assessment of our security systems and how we were managing our devices. And we got an A-, which was actually really great. It was one of the highest in the county, but it was still an A- and not an A+. So we had to put a few new systems in place so that we could just make sure our Our systems are just as secure as possible. Particularly in the last couple of months, hackers have been very busy trying to find ways to get into vulnerable places, knowing we've got staff working from home, and just a lot of different systems. So we've put a lot of effort into shoring up our security systems, how we manage our devices, which has actually come in really handy now that everyone is working remotely, because we're able to help our teachers without having to physically see them. Another program we added over the last year was an enhanced student content filtering and monitoring system. So that gives us all insight into any student activity that's troublesome. I've worked very closely with Stephanie Martinez on this project, so it will help us identify kids who are sharing any information or searching for anything that relates to self-harm or depression or grief or bullying. And especially during the last couple months, this has been really helpful for all of our site administrators to have this information, as well as just one more way to connect to our families and our students when we can't physically see them. On the right-hand side, these are more, some of them are more instructional. So we've also launched the Clever application, which allows all of our students to have what they call a single sign-on, which means kids just have to log on once and they have access to all of our programs. So it makes it much easier, especially for our young students, to not have to remember lots of usernames and passwords and how do you log into one site versus another. So this has really been able to streamline all of our systems, including the majority of our textbooks that are now online also work through this system. So again, kids just have one access point that they can access all of these tools. For our younger grades, they also work with a badge. So kids just need to really just put their badge up to their camera and they're able to access their tools. So we don't have to have kindergartners trying to log in with, you know, a complicated system that they can't do on their own. We are just starting our second year of our online student enrollment system. This has been great because now it gives us at the district office much more insight into how many families are enrolling, how many families are leaving. I wish I could say it was increasing our enrollment. It's not doing that, but what it does do is it gives us greater insight earlier so that we can plan more effectively for the number of classrooms that we'll need for the coming year. You know, before we had this system, it was a lot of work over the summer and really not knowing how many applications we had until right before school started. So by moving things online, again, it's just giving us greater insight much earlier so that we can make informed decisions about class sizes and teacher needs at all of our schools. For a few years now, we've been using Parent View, which is a parent portal for our middle school students. And over the last year, we expanded that access to our TK5 families as well. And this is to provide insight into grades, report cards, attendance, health information. And again, it's just another way to communicate with our families, and our families have visibility into information about their students on a daily basis and not having to wait for information to be sent out to them. We're continuing with our school to home program, which provides a Chromebook for all of our 6th grade students. This year was a big year because we were also on a 5-year refresh for all of our elementary Chromebooks. So we put about 1,000 devices into our elementary schools this year, which again came in very handy over the last couple of months. You may recall, I know some of you have been on the board for a while, there was, with the creation of the LCFF, was the first time really a big influx of technology went into our school sites. And that was 5 years ago. So it was time to replace those. So with the astute reserve funding that the district's been doing, we were able to support that so that we've got functioning devices at our elementary schools. Currently, we are awaiting the shipment of 500 elementary iPads, and iPads are the devices we chose for our pre-K, TK, kindergarten, and special day classrooms. So we will be refreshing those as well as our staff laptops. We're on a 5-year replacement cycle. And one of our latest and actually most critical to support our at-home learning has been the launch of remote tech support. We had a tech ticket system that wasn't really meeting our needs, so we had been slowly launching a new system. And what's nice about this new system is it allows us remote tech support. So we've been able to connect with all of our staff who are working in their various homes. And most importantly, this also allows families to connect with us when they need tech support as well. I know you've seen this in the past. Part of our LCAP metrics is looking at computer usage and students' attitudes toward using technology. So I just wanted to give you this snapshot of the data over the last 4 years. So this is the data for our middle school students. So as you can see, there's a pretty steady increase in terms of how much they're using technology, their attitudes about feeling that they're a better learner with using technology in their classroom, and that they're feeling that they're more involved when technology is used. The next slide is that same data, and this is for our upper elementary students, so for our students in grades 3 through 5. This data is kind of tapering off, so we're trying to figure out what's accounting for sort of that little dip we've taken in the last year after we'd had some steady increases. Lots of causes, I'm sure. One of the assumptions is that even though we've increased the number of devices for our elementary students, that we haven't really kept pace with the professional learning for our elementary teachers in the same way that we have with our middle school teachers. So that's sort of one hypothesis about why that data is a bit stagnant and actually taking a little bit of a dip. So one of the things we wanted to try this year was a new model of professional learning. So we were able to get some grant money from Google, which was great since we are a Google district and use a lot of Google tools. And we were able to partner with an amazing professional learning organization called EdTech Teacher. And we developed a new model where we had a cohort of teachers and administrators, K-8, participate in a series of trainings throughout the school year. And it was our first attempt at doing a hybrid model. So some days we were actually physically together when we were able to be physically together. And then some of the trainings were actually via webinar. So it was our first introduction to using like Zoom for professional learning, even before we knew we needed to use Zoom for professional learning. So we were able to offer those trainings. Half the trainings were online. And then what was great is if teachers had a conflict, they were all recorded, so they could still participate and view them later. So on the next slide is just a really short video from Kathy Mackay, principal at Tobias. She and several of her teachers participated in this cohort. She wanted to come tonight, but she's taking her final exam for a class. So she said she would send a little video. So this is her just giving a brief just summary of what she and her teachers at Tobias worked on this year. Oh, Heidi, I'm not sure the audio is working.
And Dr. Joyner has to unmute herself, I believe.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Kathy Mackay, MHT principal, saying hi to JESD cabinet and school board. I hope everybody's doing well. I wanted to say a few words about some of the Google technology seminars that I attended through the district. I attended 2. One was Google Certification 1 and one was Google Suites. Google Certification 1, I was accompanied by our site tech wizards, Miss Lou and Miss Carell. And we took a full day class and are eligible to follow up with getting Google One certified. And that's something I'm gonna do one of these days. The other class I took was the Google Suites with several other teachers, Miss Takla, Miss Tarzano, and Miss Sawarda. And that was several full days and webinars, and it was throughout the year, although the last one got canceled because of COVID, because it was March 30th. But fortunately, our wonderful presenter from EdTech teacher, Abra Robinson, gave us access to the slide deck, and also we have access to the recorded webinars. And she's been wonderful in terms of supporting teachers. Actually, EdTech teacher has been wonderful supporting teachers with the online transition, which essentially happened overnight. So some of the things that I wanted to mention were we are following up with Google Sites. Several of our wonderful staff have created Google Sites for their classes and families to access during this time of online at-home learning. And also our K teachers also have a website as well. So K and 4th grade also have a website, 3rd grade has a website. And it's really been fantastic that everyone has learned so much and they're actually applying it. So I too plan on applying it and continue to do so. And I'm grateful that Tony put this forth, this opportunity for staff and admin to learn technology and continue to learn technology. So I just wanted to let you know about a few things that happened at our site. I hope everybody stays well and take care.
One of the things she didn't mention is one of the suggestions in the course was to keep a professional portfolio of everything that they're learning. And what she has done is built this incredible Google site that's her own professional learning portfolio. So every time she'd have a new course, she would add it to her portfolio. And anytime she would even call me on the phone in the last few months and ask me how to do something, she's like, Tony, I'm gonna put it right in my portfolio so I have it and then I know I can do it again. And so she's been a great instructional leader at her site in really moving forward with instructional technology. Now we come to middle of March with our big shift to at-home learning. This is just a quick snapshot of one of our classes at SVA. It makes me smile for a lot of reasons, not just the smiles, but just seeing, as Mr. Vidalis was saying, seeing classes still come together in this virtual way. And this was Let's Share Our Stuffed Animal. This was one of their first course classes together, just as a way to get kids feeling comfortable about being online and still really feeling that sense of community, even though everyone is separate and a bit disjointed, but having that classroom community. The other thing I really like, the 3 boxes that don't have smiley faces on them are actually the 3 teachers at that grade level. And, you know, again, as much as our teachers collaborate, they don't often get to teach a class together because everybody's in their own room teaching a class. So as crazy and as wild as this has all been, it's actually allowed our teachers to collaborate in a whole new way and being able to be together with all of the 1st grade students together. So I thought that was just a fun picture to share. So lots of changes had to be made. As Mr. Vidala said, you know, this wasn't as elegant as we wanted it to be, but it was certainly efficient. We were, you know, getting information those early days almost as fast as we could process it and get it out to our community. And so we definitely used our district website as a way to communicate information to our broader community. We were really leveraging our social media and Facebook pages with a lot of the more up-to-the-minute information that was going out to our district community as well. But we also just had a huge amount of information we had to get to our teachers and our families about all these changes that were happening for at-home learning. So one of the first things we did is we just quickly set up 3 sites. One was just the at-home learning curriculum site, so that all of our teachers knew, you know, what our guidelines were, where to access curriculum for the packets and all of that. And that's been a real collaborative effort from all of our departments and ed services as one place where we can put all of the information we know teachers need. We also knew there was a tremendous amount of new technology that was coming out. And as you know, Ms. Mackay mentioned, teachers are at all different levels. And so we realized we needed a separate but connected at-home learning technology resource site for families because, you know, we just needed materials and online learning and just different ways to communicate to teachers all the technology resources that were available to them and how they could get training and support if they needed it. And then finally, we needed our families to have something very specific. And we wanted something that was different from our district website, which has a larger community. And so these are just very specific, focused information for our families about at-home learning. as we've made changes to our meal program, student expectations for learning at home, how they can get technology support and access if they needed it. So these were sort of our first steps that we had to put in place as we made this transition. So over the last 2 months, none of this could have happened without the tremendous work that was done by literally every person in our technology department who's worked tirelessly this whole time to make this happen, and also our site administrative teams, as well as our site tech leads. Our middle school was a bit of an easier transition because of our school to home program. Kids already had a device, they already had a device at home. So that was a huge piece they already had in place. At our elementaries, even though we have all the devices, we don't have it assigned to students in the same way. So it really was a huge effort by a lot of people's part, who I am tremendously grateful for, to really getting a sense of what the needs were for all of our families and how we could distribute that information. So over the last 2 months for our elementary students only, we've distributed 120 hotspots to provide families who don't have internet access at home. 90 iPads, 970 Chromebooks have gone out to our elementary students. This is in addition to the 700 that are already with our middle school. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we were able to provide remote tech support for our families through our new tool as well. We were really trying to focus on not adding too many new tools, but also giving teachers what they needed to be successful. So we certainly leaned pretty heavily on the tools we were already using, all of the Google tools. We were already using obviously our online textbooks, and we already had LexiCore 5 for our elementary schools and Newsela at our middle. Sorry. These companies were gracious enough to add some licenses, so we were able to offer PowerUp, which supports our struggling readers for middle school. Newsela has offered free services through the end of the year, so our students in grades 3 through 5 can also access. Freckle Math also provided free resources for all of our students K-8. And then just an idea of some of the other ones we're using: Seesaw, Class Dojo are great communication tools that are being used particularly at our elementary schools to communicate to families. BrainPop gave us licenses for free. And then in addition to Google Hangouts, we've also added Zoom for all of our families, all of our teachers, I should say, through the end of the year. Yep, thanks. So this just to give you an idea of how we're supporting all of those tools. All of these vendors have been amazing to work with and have really done so much to provide resources for all of us. So they are all offering weekly either live webinars or recorded webinars or office hours where our teachers can connect with someone on their team if they have questions or they want to learn more. So one of the ways to pull that all together is on our tech resource website for teachers. We just have this calendar of events. So on any given day, teachers can log in and participate in any of these webinars to further their learning. And last couple slides, just to show you some data of the increase of usage. So this is just a quick snapshot, and I know it's a bit hard to read. From our Google suite of tools, you may notice a couple dips. Those are the February break and the spring break, but typically since March 18th, we've had an increase of over 1,000 to 1,500 users on a daily basis using Google tools for our students. And then the next slide, Mr. Vidalis, yes, gave the punchline away earlier. Just to give you a little snapshot of how we are connecting with our community. We have, on average, 485 staff actively using Zoom on a daily basis. We also use Google Hangouts, which is similar to Zoom, but a different tool. Since March 16th, sorry, we've had 6,247 meetings on Google Hangouts. We've had 7,839 meetings on Zoom. The number of people participating, and again, this is concurrent, so it's not different people, over 120,000 people using Zoom or participating in meetings, and yes, over 2 million minutes of meeting time has been connected via Zoom. Just all the various teachers connecting with their students. We've got counselors, connecting with students that they're working with. principals connecting with families, all using these tools so we can help stay connected. For our next steps, we obviously learned so much over the last 8 weeks. We are in the process of refining things. As you know, we don't know what to expect for the 2021 school year. So we've got the next few months to take what we've learned and really come up with a more refined, elegant launch for the 2021 school year, and then determine where we're at in August and what we need to do in terms of supporting at-home learning with technology. Any questions?
Any board members have any questions, or Mr. Vidales? Mr. Koo?
Ms. Peroni, I just want to thank you for the presentation. I just want to thank your team for all that you guys have accomplished, especially with transitioning the whole district to at-home learning. So I just want to extend my thanks for that. I also want to thank you for that at-home learning website for families. Even just as a school member, I felt it really handy and really helpful. So just want to say thanks for that. When it comes down to the next school year, I know that currently there's in the news is a chance that the current health crisis might continue potentially in the fall or the winter. And I guess I was wondering, I don't know if you guys have already thought about what you guys could do or improve on for the next year, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on maybe anything yet planned.
Yeah, we're thinking about it. It's hard to do that when you're still in the midst of implementing something, but we have several opportunities to seek feedback from students and staff and parents about this experience, and to give us information about what worked for them, what was preferable, what they found to be more successful. And then we'd incorporate all of that information into building something for the next at-home learning time. We're not sure when that will be, but pretty certain that it will be at some point. So even if we start in school physically, we may need to go back into at-home learning, or we may start with at-home learning. And so we will take those learnings into account. So we're surveying and receiving information right now.
Thanks.
Can you hear me?
Thank you, Ms. Baroni. This is Manufo. I just wanted to also commend you and the team. It's 2 million minutes, all those minutes to meetings. I mean, I'm overwhelmed to just think how that happened. But I did want to ask too, I know next steps are hard to talk about right now. Things are ever changing, but I did wonder what you may have seen or identified as gaps from the beginning of the launch of the distance learning, and if those gaps are still in place. I mean, if there was anything that was very prominent, I'm just curious.
Mm-hmm. I think what we noticed, our biggest gap was at our elementary, who aren't used to, even assigning homework that uses technology, because we don't provide it for our elementary schools, or at least we hadn't. And so, that biggest shift was really thinking about at every grade level, because it is very different at every grade level. What are the tools that are most appropriate for communicating, with the class, and what needs to be done online versus offline, and really finding that mix of that blended learning that's most appropriate at every grade level. Again, as I said, our middle school was a much easier transition. Everything was already online. Students already had devices. So while there were some learning curves there, in terms of having classes online, a lot of the strategies that we've already been doing in our professional development really just rolled into this at-home learning. But it was really just finding just the right suite of tools, because those first weeks, every vendor wanted to give you something for free, and it was coming at us from everywhere. And sometimes they weren't really free. And really, we had to sit back and say, what are the needs really for our teachers? Because we don't need 100 different tools. We need a handful that we can really leverage and make the most of, so teachers can use well and not feel like there's just everything that people aren't using well and aren't serving our kids well.
Thank you for that. I know that I've heard on some of my state calls how overwhelming it's been with the misinformation that's even districts are shuffling and actually sharing with their families that this is a free online resource. Come to find out, they're asking families to give so much information, and it ends up not really being a free resource. So I want to say thank you to you and the team for actually diving in and being able to decipher what is the best, as you said, best tools that we have available, and be able to equip our staff with that. And I would imagine when we look at next steps that we would be looking at some form of a blended model in some way. Just like our state is slowly reopening, I would imagine we'd be looking at something like that, which I think we're well on our way of doing it, and looking forward to us continuing to figure it out and do it well. But thank you again for all your hard work.
I'd like to chime in right now and to say thank you for all that you're doing. And I think that we're at a good place. And I know that even though it's just came at us, that we can be prepared for the future, that we can do very well for our students. And I haven't heard any complaints. And I just think that I want to thank everyone for what they're doing.
I also want to say thank you to Ms. Baroni for a great presentation, and to give a little bit of my parent role perspective on things, as I like to do. I really do appreciate how much more sophisticated systems have become over the last few weeks. Different processes have definitely changed with more formal teacher access, and I absolutely love the parent view. So whoever instituted that, kudos to whoever brought that to the table, because I don't know how else I would do it. There's nobody to call or, even email, let alone my child is in the middle schools, have to communicate with 7 different teachers just for one small question. So it kept me up to date on a daily basis, and I really appreciate that. And thank you for sharing that the teachers have that calendar of trainings to look forward to. That actually helps me visualize a lot what they need to go through and how supported they are. So thank you, Ms. Baroni.
Yeah, if I might just add a little bit to this, and some of the reasons that we were able to shift in this direction, how we did, were because of decisions we made 5 years ago. We made the decision to purchase Chromebooks. We made the decision to keep our security up to date and strong. And we just took a lot of proactive steps, maybe more so in the last 2 to 3 years, just to set us up to this place. We have a director of technology and curriculum integration. We have Mr. Smith and Mr. Sanchez, who are, propping up the backbone of our district technology every day and working with the systems and the programs that we're using. So these are all sort of strategic steps that have been taken well before March 13th. And like Ms. Baroni said, you didn't realize how important the foundation to your home is until the earthquake hit. And when the earthquake hit, we're like, okay, there's some broken plates and stuff like that, but we still have a foundation and our home is still standing. I've appreciated the different websites. I've had an opportunity to share them with other districts and other superintendents who ask questions. What are we doing for this? I said, well, why don't you go and check our district website? Because there's a lot of resources there. And if you want to steal something, it's not proprietary, please. The more people we can help with whatever resources we have, the better. We're all in this together and we want to share with each other. So our district, even though we're not one of the wealthier districts in the county, is leading, even in this time, among other districts in technology use. Like I said, not elegantly, but we're doing something, we're doing it, we have resources, and we're ready to share them with other districts around us.
All right, thank you, everyone, and Mr. Vidalis. Yeah, I actually would like to echo what Super proactive about how we do it. On the board, our take was average and effort into it up. As usual, you've been doing, Ms. Barone, your staff, and I'm just really glad that we had that, not just technology, how we integrated with the curriculum. And, you know, I'm pretty sure that we're going to be trend setting once again in our county. So keep up the great work.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So this is an information item. There's no action to be taken. So we'll move on to the next item. Actually, let me give you a virtual applause. Okay, so we're moving on to business and financial procedures. Okay, they're all consent agenda for business.
11C is the next item there, Mr. Ali.
So item 11C, assignment of certificated personnel outside credential authorization 2019 to 2020. To be in compliance with the California State Education Code, the Board of Trustees is required to approve the assignment of certificated personnel to teach outside their credential authorization. The district presently has 14 teachers who meet the criteria to teach subject areas outside of their credential authorization through the following education codes. I'm not going to read all of those out. The administration recommends approval of these assignments for the 2019-2020 school year.
Okay. Hi, it's Brent. It seems I'm having a problem with my video, so we can just do my name. Can you hear me out there okay?
Yes.
Thank you. So annually, we have teachers working in positions that, oh, there I am, that are outside their main credential area. And the reason they're able to do that is because certain ed codes will allow them to teach in those lines based on the number of undergraduate units or graduate units they might have in a specific content area. We meet annually as a committee to review those teachers that this applies to, and under which of the different ed codes, which were very lengthy to read, that they would apply to. And then we annually approve it and then present it to the board for their approval. So we're just making the recommendation that the board take this annual step to approve the assignment, the Committee on Assignments agenda item.
And Mr. Ali, if I can add something, and another way to look at this item is to say that we have 14 teachers that, even though they don't have the formal credential, are qualified to teach in a subject area that they didn't receive a credential in because of their coursework and other work that they've done, which is a great thing that we have people that can serve in these different ways and use their knowledge to support our students.
You know, I was just about to say that before Bernie muted me.
Well, yeah, so that's some great news, and I'm happy to hear that we can accommodate these teachers and be able to fill those positions and get the students the proper education that they need.
Thank you.
Yes, so this, I don't think there's any deliberation for this, so do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the assignment of certificated personnel to teach outside their credential authorizations as stated.
Second.
Second
Okay.
motion.
We have a motion, we have the second. All those in favor? Aye. And thumbs up? Okay, that's unanimous.
Thank you.
Approved.
Signing off.
Well, believe it or not, we're almost to the end of the meeting. So item 13A, board policies, administrative regulations. December 2019 CSBA board policy revisions, second reading. The board will review and revise board policies, administrative regulations from December 2019 CSBA board policy revisions as stated in a second reading. Do we have any deliberation?
I'll make a motion to adopt the following revised board policy and administrative regulations from December 2019 CSB board policy revisions as stated in the second reading.
Second.
We have the motion and we have the second. All those in favor, say aye. And thumbs
Aye.
up.
Aye.
Okay, did we get Ms. Brizuela?
Said aye.
Okay, thank you. Unanimous. Item 13B, Administrative Regulations 5121, Grades and Evaluation of Student Achievement, second reading. The board will consider updating Administrative Regulation 5121 regarding grading to reflect policies during modified school operation or other alternative mode of instruction during a local, state, or federal emergency. Mr. Vidales, did you want to say a little bit about this?
Yeah, just a bit. Our grading policy, specifically in the secondary or our middle school, is not very flexible for a time period like we're in now. And so we felt, like many other districts across the country, that we needed to add a component to our board policy that explains what we do in an emergency situation such as we find ourselves in. Basically, you know, there's different scenarios in the board policy that we think captures everything that we could think of, but it likely does not. There will be some scenario at some point in the future that falls out of what we've identified. There's a clause in this board policy that the board allows a superintendent to quickly, because we don't know when this can happen. It can happen 3 months before a grading period. It can happen 2 weeks before a grading period. You know, where it allows a superintendent or designee to meet with representatives from our teacher labor organization and come up with an addition to the policy if it needs to be changed to apply to a particular situation that may arise that's not already defined. And then we would report back to the board about what that policy, and then we'd probably revise the policy to include that situation because it could happen again. But what we found is that the policy was not flexible enough to be able to work through this. Fortunately, we've had enough time to think about and work through this, but we think it sets us up in the right direction.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I definitely agree that it's important for us to be flexible when, you know, it's no fault of the students that we're in this shelter in place. So as much leniency that we can have would be good. So I'm assuming that the flexibility.
Yes, that's true. That's true. No student's grades will suffer as a result of this time period. Nobody falls back. A student can only move forward. And then there's at least for a middle school, there's a new marking called no mark. Like that basically says the teacher does not have enough information to make a mark. And hopefully that's explained in the comments the teacher makes, like student was not able to attend any classes, didn't turn in any work. But you know, we don't know what's going on in a family during this time. Family members may have been passing away. The internet's very poor. They were not able to communicate with us to tell us that they needed internet. You know, a lot of things happened. One day we'll find out what's happened. But there are still some students that we've had very limited contact with, and we hope to be able to reach them soon.
All right, yes. Any other board members have a question or a comment on this? And if not, then do we have a motion?
I will make, if there is no other comment, a motion to approve the administrative regulation 5121 grades evaluation of student achievement to reflect policies during modified school operation or other alternative mode of instruction.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye, and thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimously approved. Okay, the woman of the hour. Reports from board members on professional development. Item 14A, board study session, CSBA 2019 Annual Education Conference. Board member Marie Brizuela will highlight some of her learnings as well as give a report about her attendance at the California School Boards Association, CSBA 2019 Annual Education Conference and Trade Show in San Diego from December 5th through 7th, 2019. Ms. Brizuela.
Okay. Well, one of the sessions that I went into was actually, I wanted to do a new board member because I wanted to see what it is that they're also offering to new board members, because sometimes that's the hardest year when you get into it. And I just wanted to refresh that. And it was great. It was really good because there were some new things to be learned. Even though it said new board members, there was things that came back to me and that were a little different, but was really able to make me focus on what a board member really needs to do. And I would like to say that we're probably very close to being on board with all this, but there's still stuff that we could learn and things that we have to look at that are new. And it's not just being a new board member, it's the new issues that are coming up to us. So I have a lot of paperwork that I can give to some of you if you would like to see that. But I thought it was very refreshing to sit there and see what it would be like and how many things that we learn in the beginning and then we set them aside because we have other issues. So it's good to reflect on what is the real role of a school board member. And I do have that paperwork to show all of you. So that part I really liked a lot. And I also went to the one for learning about the legal part of what we're doing and all the things that new legislation that came out that is really protecting and supporting the student, which we also need to be sure that we don't overlook the needs of some of our students. So that also, I have that paperwork that I could share. Another session that I went to, which I was very proud to be at, was the one that was promoting the program that we have. As you know, that we have the one, oh, what's the name of it now? The one that was
Cinema Project.
What?
The Youth Cinema Project.
Thank you, thank you.
Yep.
I don't have the paperwork with me here to read it to you, but anyway, it made me very proud. And they actually had a session at that, you know, that anybody could go and listen to the program, what they had to offer. And then I was proud enough, and some of the board members were there, that I got up to the microphone and said, try it, you will love it. It was a great program. It really helped our students, and it was amazing what they learned and what they did and what they produced in their movie. And so of course they came to me afterwards and thanked me for speaking on behalf of it, because one person got up and said, well, how much is it going to cost? We can't afford this. And my comment was, it's well worth every penny, because it really helped our students immensely. And that's what we need to think about. The programs that we can say we can afford to support our children so they learn more and they can teach others the same thing. And if you would to watch those children, what they had learned, what the hours they spent, and what they produced, it was awesome. That's all I can say. The word is awesome. So some of you know, because a few of you have participated in this as well. And I don't know if we're going to have the funds now to continue with this. I'm hoping we can. I think I mentioned to Bernie, I hope that we can continue with this program. Right now, everything's sort of slowed down and stopped, but that we offer this to other students in our school district so they can grow and learn what it's like to work together and to produce a movie that they all did something to make it work as a team. So, and then be able to show the film up at the theater up on Juniper Sierra, where anybody could go see it for free and see what we're doing and helping our students to learn. So I think that's most of what I wanted to share with you.
All right, thank you very much. And I just want to add to what you said about extending the program to more students. I remember one of the reasons why we like the program is that it's integrated with the English language arts curriculum, you know, because the students are writing, they have to read the scripts to each other. So they're reading, they're writing, speaking, and listening, which is part of English language arts. So I think there's a way, if we could integrate it further into the English classes. So maybe all the students in the school won't be able to be a producer or a director, but they could still be involved at least in the writing part and the listening part. So just something to think about. Do any other board members have any questions or any comments about Ms. Brizuela's presentation?
May I say something too?
Yes, of course.
Okay. What I want to share was, besides everything that they did, they learned how to work together and choose who would be their leader here, who would do this, who would do that. So it's not just, like you said, it is the English language, but it's also teaching them how to work together as a team and how to make good choices and selections. And that they grow. The children grow how to learn, how to do so many things that perhaps they wouldn't have learned if they weren't in that program. So I wanted to also include that. Thank you.
I don't have a question. I just want to say thank you to Ms. Brizuela, and it's great to see you. I love this opportunity to be able to see you. I agree. I think Youth Cinema Project definitely is a bright spot for us. And it truly has benefited our district. And I love that we were able to take it on, because as President Ali had mentioned earlier, we continue to be trendsetters in the county, you know, as a school district. So that definitely continues to be a bright spot for us. So thank you for sharing.
All right. If there's no other comments, then we'll move on to item 15, which is governance team member comments, reports, and board meeting reflection. And this time we'll start with Mr. Vidales on the team member comments.
Thank you. So I selected keep my remarks concise, and I don't think I was very successful at that, so please forgive me. But I do, because I have something else to add. There's so much. As we were speaking about the Youth Cinema Project, I was reminded that when you check your email later tonight, or maybe you already have, our students, two things. Our students were able to finish their filming prior to the shelter in place. And they've been working with their mentors during this time to work through the editing process. So they've been going to class also and working on finishing their films. Don't know if we're gonna be able to show them anytime soon, but when I get the go ahead that they're fine and that theaters are open again, and we can gather in groups larger, probably larger than 100, because that's about how many. We've had about 150, 200 before. You know, we'll schedule with the theater on Junipero Serra. We already had the date set for June 4th, but we're not going to be able to use it. The other thing is that they did something different because the films were not going to be able to be premiered. The Youth Cinema Project, in their collaboration with the Latino filmmakers and artists, set up what they're calling YCP Reads. And every Friday, they select a script and they take some of the prominent Latino actors that are on shows now on Netflix and Hulu and different Latino focused shows. to read the script of some students that's a student wrote. So our students' script will be read this Friday, and you should have it in your email. And Mrs. Brizuela, they used your old email, so I just forwarded it to your new email to let you guys know how you can access that and you can watch it and listen to it live, or probably it'll be archived there if you can't watch it live. So that'll be it. We'll be promoting that in the next few days through our social media as well. See, and I was not concise, so I'm sorry.
No worries. I'm gonna, on my screen, just go this way. So Mr. Koo.
I selected, we will keep our focus on the best interest of our students. And I also wanted to make a comment. So this weekend, we actually have a CSBA delegate assembly meeting, and there were a couple of items regarding school district's response to COVID-19, as well as a potential foreshadowing in terms of what the May revised updates will be. So I'll try to share some of that from what the meeting comes out at our next meeting in May.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Manio.
I also chose that we're going to keep the best interest of our students in mind as usual. And I definitely am looking forward to that read this Friday from Youth Cinema Project. It is with the cast of Narcos, which I watch on Netflix. So that's super exciting that we get to listen to what our students have been doing and what they produced by very famous people. So I'll definitely post that as well on my social media feed to promote that. And Trustee Koo, I look forward to hearing what comes out of that assembly. We're getting so much direction from various channels and avenues that can get very convoluted and confusing. So I definitely welcome that. And Trustee Brizuela, it's so good to see you. And it was so good to see you earlier today at Ben Franklin. We've missed you here. It's been a while, but definitely good to see you all. And I hope that you've had a great Mother's Day. Even if you're not a mother, I know you have one. So I'm glad to see everyone, and I hope you all have a great rest of the week.
Ms. Liana Anoa'i.
Well, I actually would have missed tonight's meeting because my family was to be flying out to Hawaii today to celebrate my youngest son, Reno, who would be graduating from the University of Hawaii this Saturday. So I definitely am feeling what a lot of our parents are feeling, that we feel a little robbed and cheated, that we're unable to have those formal celebrations to give gratitude to all the hard work that went into our students, especially students that belong to us, you know, be able to celebrate them fittingly. So I definitely want to shout out all of the class of 2020 graduates in our district, but also to those who were products of our district and who will continue to serve and contribute to our communities. I also wanted to share that there's been on the national, local, and state level, a lot of conversations around the alarming rate that we see in the Pacific Islander community with regards to COVID-19. So there has been a lot of movement around that, and myself and my other Pacific Islander colleagues, the other electeds who are all here in the Bay Area, we have formed a coalition with other Pacific Islander leaders on the ground, and we hope to push off some sites that we want very specific here in Daly City. But we also know there are other components on how our students are impacted with regards to education and some of the gaps that we're trying to address. So that's something that I definitely want to bring back to our district, to ensure that our district is a partner of that effort, because I know this is something we already believe in, and that those practices may be shared across the board with other communities who are still struggling. Our African-American community, our Latino population, those are communities of colors that are being impacted highly by COVID-19. Currently, right now, the Pacific Islander is the highest ethnic population that is being impacted by COVID. So it's really important as we look to reopening, we look at next steps, and we also gravitate to the successful momentum of some of the things that are happening and coordinated efforts that we might be able to promote and really institute in our district. So I'm grateful that we continue to be that trendsetter. I know that these conversations will be embraced and welcomed by many, because I have shared this with some of you, but I just want to say I'm very grateful, as always, to be able to sit and serve with all of you, because, you know, we all come to our meetings many times tired. I know we're zoomed out, but I come out of these meetings refreshed and re-energized to ensure that we continue to do what we do and do it well. So I applaud everyone doing what you do. I'm really grateful to serve amongst you, and I look forward to us getting through this together. And I wish you all well.
All right, thanks. Ms. Brizuela.
Okay. I have to say, I could comment on what everybody has said so far, and I'll say ditto, 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 ditto. But I want to also say that I know that we work very hard for all our students, and that we're trying to do the best we can for each and every one of them. But we can always do better, right, guys? And I think that we have a good program. Don't let go of it. Just have it keep growing so that it will affect or help more children. So for me, I'm saying this is, we're at a good place. But let's think of what we can do to do more, because every child counts, no matter what the issue is. Every child counts, and we can't leave anyone behind. So I look forward to all the decisions we have to make from now, and even though we have all this other stuff hanging over us. And also, I just want to say, I hope that everybody had a great Mother's Day, or whether it was celebrating an Aunt's Day, or whatever it is, because many of us are mentors for children, whether we're the mother or not. So thank you to all of those that help a child be the best they can be. And that goes for the teachers and all the classified staff that works hard with our children. We don't want to neglect them, because they're the ones that sometimes our children go to with their problems. And we thank them for helping the children as well. So we're going to do good, all of us. We're going to work hard and still try to have fun. Okay, guys? So thank you. And thank you for all the calls that I got while I was going through a time of being ill. I'm kicking up right now so I can get out there, but we can't really go out right now because of the virus. So keep safe, everybody. I'm glad we're not wearing masks today. So thank you for each of the board members. Each one of you is valuable to our team. And thanks, Shaquille, for all that you're doing to keeping us together. And thank you, Bernie, for being there and for helping wherever you can help us at all times. So with that, no more. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. You all have pretty much said it all, so I won't add anything to it except for that I kept my focus on what was in the best interest of the students. So, Mr. Vidales, do we have any persons that wish to address us on closed session items?
No, we do not.
Okay, so at this time we will close, and we're gonna adjourn. Well, before we adjourn, I just want to say we'll take a 5-minute break before the closed session, and we're gonna adjourn with a moment of silence tonight. Excuse me, let me make sure. In memory of Lois S. Manbert, mother of Carolyn Milton, Executive Assistant, Educational Services Department at the District Office. Nabiha Hannah Suhure, mother of Rima Zarur, Senior Department Accountant Assistant, Business Services Department at the District Office. And Dave Dempsey, husband of our beloved past president, Dr. Rebecca Douglas, former board member of Jefferson Elementary School District. Actually, I don't have the gavel with me, but Meeting adjourned.
So we'll see each other in closed session
At
At
8:35.
8:35?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, thank you.